Tonight, I'm so excited to welcome a woman whose expertise has saved companies millions of dollars. Dee Bowden is the author and creator of Collect the Cash and a nationally recognized revenue recovery specialist. Have you ever heard of one of those before? Haha, you might need her. After personally collecting $6 million in just 60 days for a small IT company, Dee developed her proven 4 keys to collect the cash framework: problem solving, customer service, express gratitude, and relationship building. These things empower business owners to collect outstanding invoices with confidence and grace and not be one of those people. Her strategies have been featured in Forbes and Black Enterprise, and she's passionate about helping small and medium-sized businesses improve cash flow by building stronger relationships with their clients. Dee's motto says it all. The sale is not complete until the money is in the bank, and I might add, and cashed. Please join me in welcoming Dee Bowden to the Cynthia Manion Show. And I just want to tell you how I met this extraordinary woman. Malaysia, Harold has all the credit because she said,
Yes. Thanks,
you
Malaysia.
you two need to meet each other. So I went to support our friend Malaysia Harold at an event. It was July 18th, so not too long ago. Stacy Ready Speaker Showcase, Stage Ready Speaker Showcase.
Yep.
And it was such a well done event. And it was held at AFI Silver Theater. It was a beautiful venue for a beautiful presentation of both men and women getting ready to take the stage, just like
Yes.
Dee is now on the Cynthia Manion Show. And then afterwards,
Yes.
most of us went across the street and we went to a charming little restaurant that changed its names a couple of times. GH, it's GH Hollingers, HOLLINGERS, and it's located at 8606 Colesville Road in Silver Spring, Maryland. They were charming. They took care of us. We maneuvered around so we could visit with everyone and get to know people. And Dee and I had an amazing conversation. And
Yeah.
I walked up and I said, let me take that picture for you. And she was like, so here she is in front of AFI Silver Theater. And Eric's going to put that picture, and it's Dee saying, yes, I am amazing. And here she is. And that is her favorite color, that pink shirt. It brings her luck. It brings her money, honey. The hot stuff. And then here is a picture at the restaurant with Malaysia and I. Yep. When we were bonding and getting to know each other's strengths. These are absolutely amazing women. And I can't wait for Dee to take you back to that moment. Just how did you end up collecting $6 million in just 60 days?
Well, first of all, let me start off with gratitude. Cynthia, thank you so much to you and your amazing audience for the opportunity to be here on your show. As we say, you're amazing, I'm amazing, and we are amazing.
Yes. Perfect.
So I'll tell you the story about, but before I do that, I'll give you my fun facts. So my fun facts are: I love smooth jazz, great wines, both red and white, and I love Ferris wheels, especially Ferris wheels that are by the water. Those are my favorites. So what had happened was, so the $6 million story goes like this. So what had happened was, about 20 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. Cynthia, I know you've worked in corporate, in theater, you run a business, you have contracts, all the things. So usually it's welcome aboard, here's your cubicle or your office, and here's your space, and this is what you're going to do. In my case, it was welcome aboard Dee. You're going to join a collections team. We have $8 million in outstanding invoices because we've sold IT services and software licenses and all the things. We have a team, but they haven't been able to crack this code. Your resume says you know how to collect the cash. And I'm like, okay, so you got to understand, I'm a part-time person. I only work Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. These are seasoned collectors. And I'm thinking, y'all couldn't figure out this. They're like, no. And they're like, you said your resume says you know how to do this, so come help us do this. So I'm a person of faith, so I sat quietly, did my prayer, and then I came back and I realized that I have to do what I've always done, which is the 4 keys: problem solving. It's the tongue in cheek is of what had happened was, and what that really means is, please tell me the story of what happened. So in 60 days, I collect $6 million by doing 4 things. I do problem solving, which is the what had happened was, get the story of how did we end up here. The second thing is customer service. You and I both know what great customer service looks like, and we also, all of us know what bad customer service looks like. When we get bad customer service, it's like, you remember like your fingernails on the chalkboard, you're like, ooh, this is not good. So that's kind of that. The third thing is express gratitude. I firmly believe that anytime somebody helps you solve your problem, personally or in business, it's important to say thank you. That's just the way I was raised, and I just believe you do that. Then the last thing, to me, the most important thing is building relationships. So over the phone, I start doing what you do. You get on the phone, you call, hi, my name is Dee, I'm from such and such company. May I speak to the person in accounts payable, please? Cynthia, one phone call, and I asked them, I said, I'm calling on behalf of this company. We have several accounts with you, and there's $2 million that's outstanding. And they're like, oh, the reason we haven't, this is a true story. The reason we haven't paid you is that we changed our billing system, and we notified all of the companies that do business with us, they have to change their billing. And I said, well, on behalf of my former employer, I'm sorry, because we didn't get that email. So can you please do me a favor and resend me this email? So I get this email, and I go talk to my boss, who's a comptroller, and tell her, listen, with $2 million, we can get this back if we can just get these invoices reformatted. It'd be like using like an old software, say Excel, and you use a new billing system. And she was like, how did you figure that out? I said, it's problem solving. I literally called and I asked them what was the issue, and was it confrontational? I just was trying, because my approach is, how do we go from what had happened was to how do we win, and when we win, we get paid. And I come with solutions. So I'm like, help me help you. I didn't know that you had changed your billing system, clearly, and my company didn't know it. So I'm like, all right, get the email. I get with IT. So we're rebilling all these invoices. So 60 days goes by. I collect $6 million. Then unfortunately, the unthinkable happened, which is how this all got started. So I come downstairs, and the CEO says, listen, thank you so very much across all the departments. So that's contracts, order entry, order fulfillment, IT, marketing, sales, everybody. There's 100 of us downstairs. Now, if you've ever worked in sales, you know that sales usually gets a commission, and you get your commission after we, AR, collect your money. So I thought we were going to get a bonus because I collect $6 million. My team collects the rest of the money. So we've got all this money. We're thinking that the profits are good. It's 2 months before the holiday season. We're good. Nope. They said, we've made an executive decision. We're closing the company today and letting 100 people go 2 months before the holiday season. Now, Cynthia, and to everybody who's listening, I'm sure in life, let me say it this way, I'm trying not to get too emotional. I'm sure in life you've had something that's jarred you, that made you go, did that really just happen? Well, that was my jarring moment, because I was like, I came to work for 2 months, I collect $6 million, and I'm out of a job. But not just me, 100 people lost their jobs 2 months before the holiday season. And so after I recovered, processed the feelings, all the things, I was like, okay, this happened. But what can you do with this, and how can you serve others? And so fast forward several years later, my book coach was talking about, you can write a book in 90 days or less. And I was like, yeah, right. And she's like, no, I'm telling you, you can write a book in 90 days or less. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, I don't have a story. Because, I mean, Cynthia, I recover money for a living. So, I mean, I'm like, I do collecting. I do B2B collection. So I'm thinking, who's going to want to hear my story? So I tell her the story that I'm telling you in your audience. And she says, no, Dee, your why is that you don't want to see another small business like the one you work for go out of business. And you have a system, you have a process, you have a mindset shift that you've been able to implement, and you are effective doing it. She goes, I'm one of your customers. I don't have a system in place. I need to know what you do. So y'all remember playing Double Dutch? Well, we played Double Dutch and she won. That's how Collect the Cash exists today.
We have a question from Grace Cavalieri. Who were you collecting the money from?
Oh, I was working for a company that had contracts with other. So it was a small IC company. So they had contracts with other vendors, also with several government agencies. So I was collecting the money from those companies and the government agency.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
Before creating your Collect the Cash system,
yep.
What was your own relationship with money and cash flow?
That's a great question. Well, my relationship with money has been good. Now how it got good was, number one, I was taught, the importance of, giving and saving and investing. There's that part. But also, I know that money is a tool, and we use money to do life. And I also know that some people, it depends on, how you were raised, and some people grew up with a lot of money, some people grew up with a lot with less money, and some people have real money struggles. Thankfully, that's not my story. but I also learned the importance of giving first. So I was always taught to make sure that you give, that you're charitable. So that's one thing. I was also taught to save, to make sure you save. Each time you get paid, save something, and then make sure you invest. And so that's how I did it. Now, how I got into doing what I do is I've been a problem solver since I was a little kid. I was remember in school when you get your report card and they used to say she talks too much. Well, I was a kid, I always asked a lot of questions.
I love it. Perfect.
I asked. I was always that kid that was asking questions because my process, my thinking process was the why behind the what. Because if you just tell me, just
Oh,
do this. Hey, Melissa. Hey,
Malaysia
Melissa.
joined.
If you just
Let's collect the cash. Money is the tool. Hey, Malaysia.
hey,
She
Melissa.
was the one who introduced us. You got to catch the
Absolutely.
beginning of this, Malaysia. We put up your picture, as you were
Absolutely.
saying, my lady.
Yeah. So the thing is, so money is a tool, and I actually now that I forgot my thought.
Money is a tool. Let's collect the cash. And you were always asking the
Oh,
questions.
that's right. That's what it was. Yes, I was. Yeah, I was always asking questions. So I was a kid that my report card always said she talks too much and she asks too many questions. But here's what's funny: me talking too much and me asking questions all these years later has turned out to has led me to a great career. And so problem solving has always been a part of whatever I've done. I've been a contract administrator for my entire life. I've always dealt with contracts. I've always dealt with vendors. I've always dealt with money. I've always dealt with payments. And so my four keys came out of me having to solve problems. So every place I've ever worked, I've always had large amounts of money owed. So I've always had to do the problem solving. So I go all the way back to my first professional position. I was a contract administrator inside of an engineering consulting firm. And when I got promoted to be contract administrator, my team was building a water filtration plant up in Hemlock, New York. The project got stopped because the city of Rochester, New York said you're not preparing the proper invoices the way we need them for the city. And so I was like, okay, sir, what do you need? So the phone's over here because the gentleman had a whole lot of choice words, but we're not going to repeat them on the live. But he had a lot to say. So I had to hold the phone over here and listen and take some really good notes and find out, okay, so problem solving was, okay, what did we miss? So the first thing was to get the information from him was to find out, okay, we did clearly the contract administrator before me didn't understand the process. So that was number one. So I started literally with problem solving. I asked him, what was his format? How did he like the invoices? So he wanted invoices plus copies of receipts and a whole bunch of other things. So, okay, got it. Customer service on behalf of the company that I used to work for. I apologize. I believe that if you make a mistake, you say you're sorry. It's not that difficult to me. It's just like, okay, we messed up, but we're gonna fix it. So then I expressed gratitude for him explaining to me why he was holding up almost $1 million in unpaid invoices because the construction company didn't know that this was an issue. And then I built a relationship with him so that I had to earn his trust because he was like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm the new contract administrator." He goes, I don't know anything about you." I understand that, sir, but my boss is a former vice president. This is who I report to, and this project is under his watch, and we're going to get this fixed. So I asked him for grace. I said, "Sir, I need 30 days." He's like, I said, "Sir, it's $100 million over $1 million worth of invoices that are messed up. I need time to fix them." He gave me the grace of 30 days. We fixed them. The project, got back on track, and the project has now been live for over 30 years. So, but it's always been, yes, absolutely. But it's always been those four keys. It's always been problem solving. It's always been the what had happened was and what's the story. It's always been customer service for me, both personally, and you know this as well as I do. We all in any place you work, you always have your internal customers, that's your peers, whoever you work with or support, and then your external customers. Gratitude is just one of those things. I was just taught that as a little kid. You say thank you. And what I also learned was this: by me recovering the amount of money I recovered, people have told me, "Dee, no one ever comes back and says thank you," because usually, accounts payable, accounts receivable, people that are on the back end or back office, they're not seen as valuable. Well, I'm one of those people because I'm a practitioner at heart. So I learned that saying thank you, and also this. I'm sure you probably have received a invoice that says thank you for your business. And so I learned companies realize you have a choice with who you spend your money with. And I was like, oh, so they say thank you for your business. I said, cool, I'm going to implement that. And then obviously building relationships, I had to figure out who are the people in finance or in IT or the vendors or the contractors that I worked with. Who's the person that's going to help me solve this problem? So those four keys got birthed out of what I learned in my career. and life lessons. And I said, okay, this is how I do this. And I'm like, okay, I've got receipts to prove I can do this. And I thought, okay, cool. And that's the story. Part two of the story.
Good story. That's a good story.
Thank you.
That has a great question for you. What are your recommendations for setting the stage on the sales side to mitigate these issues in advance?
Okay, Malaysia. She's gonna make me think.
Good question. Good question.
Good question. Okay. All right. So what am I recommendations?
Our audience wants to know the answer to this.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna.
Place.
All right. So I'm gonna make sure. Okay. So what are my recommendations for setting the stage on the sales side to mitigate these issues in advance? Well, number one, I think the first way you mitigate this is, number one, you have the sale process is clear. So basically your customer journey is clear. So once your customer says we're going to purchase your services, there's a contract, and that the terms and conditions are laid out there. That's one. Number two, what are your deliverables? What are they buying? What are you selling to them, or what are they buying from you? And it's outlined in the contract. Three, payment terms. Are you being paid in net 10, which is you paid 10 days after we signed the contract, or 10 days after we deliver the service, or is it net 30? We get that outline, and then everybody that's a part of this project is clear. We just landed this contract. This is what these are the terms and conditions. This is the deliverable. This is the invoice. And also to make sure that if there are any questions before this contract, before the sales contract is signed and delivered, take a moment and have a quick meeting and ask, is everybody clear? Because I think what happens is that because we're so excited to get the new sale, we get the sale and we're off to the next thing, and we don't make sure that everything is clear. So on the back end, when someone like me has to collect the money, there were steps that were missed that if we had taken 5 extra minutes, we could have clarified, these are the things that need to be in place, and this piece is missing, or is everybody clear? And then accountability. I think you have to be accountable for this to make sure that everything, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And if there's any questions before you get too further along in the process, ask. Take a moment and ask. And if you need to have a call, gather the people, ask, and then make the course correction as needed. I hope that makes sense, but that's what I would do.
Yes, perfect sense. Perfect sense. We've got accountability. We have follow-up. We have everyone understanding the conditions.
Yep.
And we've got getting the money and saying thank you.
Yes.
That's very good. It's part of, I worked for Nordstrom. I was an assistant buyer for special occasion dresses, gallery, petites, and large sizes in my career. And I wrote personally a thank you note to every single customer that I ever had or my department ever had. And do you know what? Some of them are still my friends.
Yes.
Yes, you become friends. It's amazing. Malaysia loved that answer. Thank you, she says. Already a gratitude. She's a lovely lady, so valuable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, my dear, what made you realize that this was a problem so many small and medium-sized business owners faced?
So glad you asked that question. Now, I know that you happen to love theater. So this is what really got it for me. I'm home like everybody else, and COVID comes up, and I'm thinking, boy, this thing is wiping people and businesses out. And for me personally, I love theater. So when I watched Broadway shut down, as you know better than I do, I tell it from the way I understand it. So for me, Broadway is a multi-million-dollar business, and every theater house is a business which has contracts with vendors and with the staff and the people and the food and actors, etc. And I just instinctively, I'm just wondering, like, so nobody's talking about the fact that these shows aren't happening. Like the show that happens at 2:00, there's a matinee show and there's one at 8. I'm thinking, so nobody's talking about the shows that are not happening, like all these sales projections that were expected to happen, and like all these vendors, and everybody's not getting paid. And I'm like, and I'm sure that all the vendors who finally got that first contract with said theater house was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I finally get to sell ... And I'm thinking, they had sales projections that they were expecting that this money was coming in so they can pay themselves, pay their mortgage, or pay their rent, pay their staff, whatever. And nobody's talking about this. And I just, that just really began to bug me, because I'm like, don't you see that, like, it wasn't just theater, but it wasn't just theater, but that happens to be something that I love. So I'm like, so nobody's talking about this. And then I'm watching, I love sports. And so every major sports team that has a stadium, The games were being played, but nobody was in the stands. None of the vendors were there. They weren't selling things. So I'm just looking and I'm just seeing this on repeat, and I'm like, and nobody's talking about this. And I'm thinking for every small business owner, for me, every small business owner that got their first contract, whether it was at the stadium, at the theater house, wherever. I'm thinking they worked their blood, sweat, and tears to get that contract, sell it, dot dot dot. And I'm like, you had sales projections that you were expecting to make. You had so much money you were supposed to make, etc. And you don't get to make it because nobody can work, nobody can sell, nobody comes to the shows, nobody can go to the theater, all the things. And I'm like, nobody's talking about this. And I'm seeing small businesses, go out of business. Restaurants are closing because they can't sell, etc. And so I keep seeing I kept seeing my story. Remember the one was a movie, Groundhog Day? It felt like I was seeing my story over and over and over again. And I'm like, and nobody's talking about it from the small business owner. Of course, yeah, the major businesses are talking about it because they're like, okay, yes, we're going to restructure, we're going to close some stores, we're going to downsize, we're going to do second, third, but we're going to be fine. But nobody was talking about the real impact that was happening to small business owners. And I was just like, this hurts. I hurt behind that because I worked for a small company that went out of business. Now the situation was different, but the point was there were 100 people that went to work one day and then they lost their job the same day. And then all I could think about was the same thing is happening here, but it's happening on a global stage or a global stage. And I'm like, and nobody's talking about this. Everybody's talking about they're not addressing this issue. They're doing other things. So I'm like, okay, so my book coach convinced me to share my story, and that's how we got here. But I've always had a heart for small business owners because another thing, the story I shared earlier about working for the engineering consulting firm and the water filtration plant we built. One of the reasons why the small business owners matter so much to me is because during the time that the over $1 million was outstanding, my former employer was a prime contractor. There were subcontractors, which were small business owners that were not getting paid because my prime had not gotten paid. And so when I finally untangled the multi-million dollars of invoices that weren't paid and finally got them paid, those vendors literally came up to the office and they were like, "Where's Dee Bowden?" And they're like, "Who's looking for her?" And they're like, "Well, we're such and such company and such and such company and such and such company. We just want to thank her for solving this issue because of her, we finally are getting paid." And they were at least 60 to 90 days past due with getting their payments from my former employer, which means, they had staff to feed, pay and bills to pay, etc. And they came up and thanked me personally. I mean, I still have a couple of the cards from that I'm young back then. I didn't even understand the impact. But when they came and said thank you, and they said, "Now, Dee, we're a small business," and I said, "Oh, I get it now." And that was one of those life lessons. I didn't, this was 30 years ago. But like I said earlier in the conversation, I said, "Have you ever had something that's jarred you?" Well, I didn't realize that I had been impacted by what happened to the small business owners 30 years ago, and that's been a seed that's been a part of my life and part of my story. And now, 30 years later, I'm telling it, and now I'm doing something about it by creating a book and a story and all the things. So that's why.
Saving people, saving lives, saving businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest challenge you had to overcome when you first started working in revenue recovery?
How much time do we have?
You're good.
Okay. One of the first challenges that I had to overcome, number one, was understanding systems. So I've had a career that's been in the engineering consulting side. I've also worked in IT. I've done a lot on the government, supporting government agencies. So there's 3 different systems. Things to understand: how systems work, how people work, how people sometimes don't work, and things. A lot of people don't want to. A lot of people don't like getting into weeds. I don't know why I like the weeds, but I just learned to like the weeds. It's the weeds are tied to problem solving. So one of the biggest challenges for me was, I like to do things correctly and I like to do things right, and I realized that not everybody's work ethic is the same as mine. So it's like, oh, okay, there's that part. Then there's 2. Then there's the how do you still maintain integrity and do what you know is right when sometimes people aren't going to, and they're just not. But you still have to be honest to who you are and still show up and do the work you're supposed to do. I think another thing that was hard in the beginning was the financial systems. A lot of times, the financial systems. I'll say it this way. Okay, I'll say it this way. Um, I learned because of the way I was trained and the way I was taught that um, double checking your work matters. And I learned that not everybody does that. A lot of people are just quick to just put stuff in there, right, wrong, or indifferent, or it's sloppy, they don't really care. And because I've closed out contracts for a living and recovered millions of dollars and had to untangle all the things, I realized that if you don't fix things correctly on the front end, it becomes a hellacious nightmare on the back end. And so I learned that not everybody cares about making sure that everything is right because people get caught up in what they do. It's my thing, it's my silo, it's this. They don't One of the hard things for me to learn was that a lot of people don't understand the entire system of how things are integrated. Like you do one thing which impacts this plus this plus this plus this. A lot of people are like, this is my lane, this is what I do. And it's me and mine, me and my four, no more. You good or not good? I don't care. I just care about mine. So I learned from the time I've been in contract administration to understand the entire system. So when I talk about building relationships, I've had to build the relationships with all the different departments because my work crossed so many different variables. I was like, oh, so if I don't get this right on the front end, it becomes a nightmare for finance and for IT and for et cetera, et cetera. So I had to learn that one, how I care and I do my best to make sure everything is right. I also had to learn that not everybody feels that way, but also understand that as long as I do my part well and I'm okay with what I've done well, eventually it will work itself out. But it took a while to get that lesson.
And you're a hero for doing it too. And it's amazing when you speak nicely to people as an equal and say please and thank you and follow up the
Mm-hmm.
results that you get. I
Yeah.
I actually once got a big they gave me a pile of clients when I actually thought I was going in to get a big raise and a promotion at a,
Oh wow.
and they actually sold my division off to another company. And I was
Are you
like,
serious?
"What?"
Wow.
And then yeah, but then they gave me some accounts and they were delinquent.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay." So I did as not as many dollars, but enough to make an impact. And I,
Absolutely.
and I just like called them up. And then since I'm a salesperson, I went and visit them and I said, well, this is what I understand. What's your story? Blah, blah, blah. And I recouped all that money.
Yes.
And it felt really good. And they felt really good because it was a load off their backs too. So
Mm-hmm.
they could sleep well at night. I could sleep well at night because I knew that I helped. And
Yep.
my new employer was, delighted. And I agree with you though, because when I first started selling, I was so excited to get the sale. I did not think through all those steps. And now that has really helped me in my life. And I'm sure it's helping other people in their life. When you see the
Mm-hmm.
big picture, just like our whole world, our whole earth,
Yeah.
you can help. And every little comma, every little period counts. It's important, especially those decimal points.
Oh my gosh, I'm Cynthia. I'm telling you, I'm so happy to hear you confirm this. I know it, but it like to have it come from somebody else who actually gets it from the other side. You mentioned sales, so it's like, of course, like first of all, congrats on doing that. That's awesome. But the other piece is, I love when people get it because I mean, I tell this story, and sometimes I don't know if you've ever felt like this. You feel like you're the only person that's kind of like waving the flag about this thing. It's like, wait, nobody gets this. But when people get it, they're like, oh, yes, and it matters, and it's
Ding, 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 light bulb.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, almost like I wish I had my clappers or confetti because you want to
Oh, yeah.
celebrate that somebody else. Yeah. Yes, you're like somebody else gets it because it's. I mean, the journey to create to create this the framework to create this way of being because I'm in contract admin and I recover money, but I'm also in accounts receivable. So and basically in mostly in business, everybody talks about day sales outstanding. How many days does it take after from when you
Mm,
sold something to when we get paid? So everybody talks about day sales outstanding and KPIs, and KPIs stands for key performance indicators, like how are
yes.
things working and all of that. I promise you, I don't talk like that. I've learned the lingo, but I'm like, I just I talk from the softer side of AR, and my softer side has been my four keys. And when people ask me why don't you talk about DSO? Because I'm like, it doesn't matter. And what matters is I got to get the story. And because I've recovered the amount of money I've recovered, I figured out that me figuring out the day sales outstanding is not as important as me getting the story, because with the story comes all the issues. That's number one. Number two, the story points to breakdowns in processes, breakdowns in communication, breakdown in some other things. And I also learned that a lot of people aren't listened to, because they'll pop you if especially in sales. Somebody will tell you, I used to bring up this issue dot dot dot, and nobody ever listened to me. And it's like it kept repeating and repeating and repeating. So I just figured out, give me the story, so I can get the story, then I can find out the other layers, and then we can figure, okay, where's the breakdown in the process, so that I obviously, as a practitioner, I might not be able to change it, but I can put it in a report to say to my manager, listen, this keeps happening, and this is why we keep having this issue. What can we do to change it? And that's when I figured out it's like the softer side. So it's the problem solving, it's the customer service, it's the expressing gratitude, it's the relationship building. And so, did I get it? Did I get it right all the time? Absolutely not. Have I gotten much better? Sure, absolutely. That's why I have gray hair now.
So Dee, let's
Yes.
break down your four keys. Can you
Sure.
share each one and why it's important?
Sure. Well, the first key is problem solving. I think if I haven't explained it, I'll do it this way. Problem solving came out. Problem solving is basically asking the question of what had happened was, and what had happened was kind of tongue in cheek. But what it really means is, please tell me the story. Because here's the thing. I'll say it this way. All of us have had some issue that we've ordered something and there's been a problem. So for example, you ordered something from said store and you got best story. You ordered 10 sets of sneakers and you only got 8. First question, what happened? Because I clicked the button, I ordered 10, I paid for 10, I get my box, I have 8 sets of sneakers. Problem solving starts with, why am I short 2 sets of sneakers? That's the first thing. Second, you're going to get on the phone and you're going to call said store, and they're going to confirm, okay, you're Cynthia, your account number is blah, 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 your email. They're going to run through all the checks, and then they're going to, hopefully what they're going to do is they're going to listen to your story about how you ordered the sneakers. They're going to confirm it, and then they're going to apologize because, number one, you've been inconvenienced. Number two, they're going to come up with a solution. They're either going to give you a credit for your inconvenience, or B, they're going to tell you the sneakers are on back order, and as soon as they come in, we're going to send it to you. But problem solving is basically what happened from when I ordered my sneakers to when I got them. What happened? What's the story between why I ordered 10, I only got 8? Problem solving is help me untangle what went wrong and then fix it for me. We do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what problem solving is. I gotta get to the story. I gotta get to the answer. And in my world, I say I want to go from what had happened was to how do we win, and when we win, we get paid. But I can't help you get paid if I don't get the story, if I don't resolve the issue. Whether it's for example, if you've dealt in contracts, there's a purchase order number missing, or accounts are missing, or whatever. If there's data missing on the invoice, that's got to be resolved. If a data entry error was made in the system, that's got to be fixed. Whatever the issue is, you got to solve the problem. Do you remember in school how we used to solve for X? That's what problem solving is to me. Problem solving to me is solving for X. That's what we're doing in a nutshell.
Okay, that's key number 1. Key number 2.
Customer service. Well, I'll share that. So customer service in my world, and basically in general, this. All of us have had great customer service, and we've all had customer service where it's been really hard. It's been really challenging. You're like, okay, they need some classes on how to deal with customers or whatever it is. So in my world, customer service is like I said earlier. On behalf of the companies that I've worked for, I've always had to be the person that's had to deal with the vendors or finance or whoever. And so my approach to customer service is that I have internal clients that I take care of, internal customers that I'm responsible for and build relationships with them, and then external ones. So as I said, share the example with the 10 sets of sneakers. Customer service would be when you called in and you said my order is incomplete. The person on the end of the phone is customer service. What how can we help you today? And what you're looking for when you call them is that they listen to your story. They're going to apologize for the inconvenience caused. They're going to offer you some kind of resolution. They're either going to give you a credit because you're missing 2 sets of sneakers, or they're going to do something. But the point is, customer service is going above and beyond the order that was placed and making sure that you have a good experience with this company, number one. Number two, that once we solve your problem, you're going to want to come back and do more business with us. And my approach with recovering money is I want this relationship, I want this experience with us interacting about recovering the money to be good, so that one, the next time I call you and I have an issue, oh Dee, hey, thanks for calling. What do you need today? Because when we didn't, we solved the problem, it didn't get out of hand, and then even if it did, or we made a mistake, I took responsibility. I took responsibility on behalf of the company to acknowledge the mistake. I did a course correction. We fixed it, and then I'm smart enough to realize that everybody makes mistakes, and there's a thing called grace. And to me, customer service is grace. Grace is, yep, we messed up. Yep, we're gonna listen to your story, and we're gonna fix it, and we're gonna do what we need to do to fix it. So you leave here going, you know what, that wasn't so bad after all. That's what I'm looking for. You take and go, yeah, that wasn't that bad. I thought it was gonna be a whole lot worse, because that's usually what we think of when we have to call customer service. We only think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to, explain my story, or story has get escalated, this and the third. My goal when you're with recovering money is, when you finish working with me, it's, you know what, wow, Dee, that wasn't that hard. That wasn't that bad. That was smooth. I was like, okay, that's my feeling. That's what customer service is to me. Is that it's grace.
Yes, and that works in everyone's life, going the extra mile. Key number
Absolutely.
3. Key number 3.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, express gratitude. Well, gratitude is my favorite one, and it's I think it's just because, like I said, it was something we were taught two things as little kids: say please and say thank you. And it's not as deep as people think. It's just one of those things I learned, and I found two things. One, I think I shared at the beginning of the story. I said, you've seen an invoice and they say thank you for your business. Mm-hmm. I just noticed that, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing. I mean, I was young when I saw it, but I was like, huh. But then I realized, when you do business with other people, they have a choice with who they do business with. And when you get an invoice that says thank you for your business, that person who created the invoice recognizes that client chose them. I'm like, oh, that's one. Number two, because I've supported and worked in the government space, in the IT space, and construction space, I think I shared it earlier. Those small business owners that they did not get their payments for 60 days, when they came up and said thank you, that was something to me. And they didn't have to, but they did. They made a point to come up and say, wow, you went to bat for us to get our money. I'm like, well, yeah, because you were the sub to this project. Of course, I'm gonna do what I can to make sure you get paid. But I also just learned that in every place I've ever worked, I've always been a practitioner. I've never been a manager. I've always been an administrator. So I've always had to build relationships. And so when people see you, that you're trying to help them help you, and you go back and tell them thank you. I just saw, Cynthia, that people were like, no, I've had it said to me on more than one occasion, Dee, no one ever comes back and says thank you for us helping them. And I thought, that's just odd. So I just decided to make it a part of my thing. And it's what I do. And I have enough receipts and enough emails from people that say, Dee, thanks for taking my phone call, or Dee helps us. Okay, I have a perfect story for that. So recently, I was closing out a contract for a government agency, and I was working with a hotel, and the person that was doing the forms was the VP. He was like, Dee, I got these government forms. I don't know what to do. No problem. Jump on the call. A call like this, and I say, show me your forms. And it's called a contractor's release. And so we're going through the forms, line by line by line. And he was like, he literally wrote me, Dee, thank you so much for taking my call. Thanks for explaining this to me. And he said, if you have any more of our contracts with this said agency, if you have an issue, I'm your person. I said, great. But it was now this. I mean, these. I guess because I've been doing it so long, these things seem normal and natural to me. But I realized that not everybody operates like that, and that's what makes it stand out. And when he was a VP, and he said, anytime we have a contract with this agency, and you need help with whatever, you call me. Here's my number. Here's my email. You call me directly. I will help you get whatever you need done. I was like, wow, just from doing something kind. I'm like, it seems odd, but it's just the way I am. It just works. So
we all need a D in our world, or multiple Ds in the universe.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not these are things that are not hard. The last thing is relationship building.
Key number 4.
That's number 4 is relationship building. So how did we get here tonight? Thanks to Malaysia. Was the connector, relationship building. We are both her friends, and now we're friends. So as a result of supporting her speaking, we came, we supported her. We came and we broke bread. She's like, oh, you two need to meet, and then we started talking and we got connected, etc. So that was one. Number 2, relationship building, and you know this is probably as best as I do, if not better. You said you did sales for Nordstrom, so you had to build relationships with your clients in order to get orders processed, solve things, all the things. And so I discovered that relationship building is just one of those keys. And when you've got good relationships with your customers and with your clients, even if there is an issue, because they know you and they know you're there to help them solve that problem, they usually will go out of their way to help you fix it because they know you, because you've taken the time to care, make sure that you deliver good service. And that's what I just believe in. I just believe that.
It's a beautiful thing. We need it in every avenue of life. Dee, you have said the sale is not complete until the money is in the bank.
Yep. You added something too that I caught that. And you said it'd be cash. I heard you. I heard you. I'm like, let's go.
She's listening.
Yep. Yeah. So my tagline is collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money's in the bank, because the sale, once you book it, you haven't delivered the product or service or whatever. You also haven't invoiced for said product or service. You haven't gotten paid, and the sale all the way through from inception to payment. It's the money. When the money's in the bank, that's when you know that, okay, every I has been crossed. Every I has been crossed. Every I has been dotted. Every T has been crossed. So I'm trying to say, and that everything that was in from when you made the sale to the contract, to the deliverable, to the invoicing and payments, everything has been handled correctly. And then the payments will show up. It's when the payments don't show up is when you go, okay, why? That we go back to problem solving, which is, okay, what happened? There had to have been a disconnect with why they haven't paid you. So I say the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. I can actually teach this. I can give you a perfect example of how this works by how you bought your cell phone. The best example, because everybody has one. So whether you're a team iPhone or Android, it doesn't matter. Listen to the story of how you bought your cell phone and how actually the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. Cynthia, welcome to X Phone. So what brings you in today? Oh my gosh, this button on my phone has not been working, ... And you're like, okay, but before we can go any further, Cynthia, can I get your driver's license, please? They scan your back, your driver's license, pull up your account. Oh yeah, you've been a customer for X amount of years, ... Cynthia, did you know you were eligible for an upgrade? You're like, I didn't come in here to buy a new phone. I just want you to fix my button. I got things to do. Let's go. So while they're fixing your phone, you take a walk around the store, and you're like, ooh, said iPhone or Samsung's got model blah blah blah. Well, I've had this phone for 3 years. Yeah, you've got some new AI, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna consider the new phone. So they start with the sale, then there's a contract, there's order fulfillment. They go in the back and confirm they've got 10 phones. They bring you out a new phone. They upload the information into the account. So you have a sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment. Cynthia, when would you like your bill? That's accounts payable. The phone company bills you every single month, and you have a contract with them. You say, oh, I want my payment due on X date. So the sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment, accounts payable. The phone company bills you. Collect the cash. The sale is complete. The money's in the bank because you pay the phone company, and then you walk over to the register. I'm sorry, you sign the contract first, and then you walk up to the register, and they'll say, would you like to pay debit, credit, or cash? And you're going to do that, and then they're going to say, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for being a customer of said phone company. They back up your new phone. But here's the thing. The sale, everything I just described is a tracking system, number one, but also the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank, because before you leave the phone store, there's two things. You sign a new contract, number one. Number two, when you go over to the register and do debit, credit, or cash, two magical words appear: transaction approved, and then you get your receipt. And because the phone company is not going to let you leave the store with a new phone until they collect their cash. That's where the sale is complete, the money's in the bank comes from. And everybody's got a cell phone, and that story, that example It's true for everybody.
It's so true. It's so true. How can shifting from a sales only mindset to a sales plus collections mindset help a business?
Ooh,
How
that's a
can
good.
shifting from a sales only mindset
Mhm.
to a sales plus collections mindset change a business?
Well, one, it would change it this way. If you see that, basically, if you take my tagline, collect the cash, the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. You realize it's not just getting the sale, it's the sale, it's two things, it's the sale, it's the customer experience. It's making sure your customer who just bought from you has a good experience. And then three, that you're delivering the service or product to them properly. Four, you're invoicing them. Five, you're billing, and six, you're getting paid. And you realize that as if you take it from just being transactional to I want my customer to have a good experience. So when I sell them this, I'm going to make sure that I take care of all the little pieces to make sure that everything goes well, including us getting paid. So it's selling and getting paid. They go together.
And the follow up. So I go in, I've done all the steps. My phone has so many contacts that always has a hiccup. Or in the past, it's always had a hiccup. And I've had to do multiple visits in order to
Mm-hmm.
get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember getting a thank you note from anybody after that process where I might have gotten a few gray hairs of my own.
Right.
So some people just don't go the extra mile all the way yet, but then they'll get more sales because you know what? I remember the people that went the extra mile.
Yeah, me
And
too.
recently, I've been giving books. I keep extra books in my car. Now, I was traveling recently. I was in Boston.
Oh
Um,
wow, nice.
I came back Sunday night, actually, technically Monday morning, and a young girl who was at the restaurant that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
I had come in and I asked for breakfast, and she took the order, and she went back and she came back and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, they stopped serving that at blah blah time." And I said, "Oh," and she goes, "Well, let me go check for you."
Mm-hmm.
So they made me my breakfast,
Yep.
even though it was 45 minutes past their end of the breakfast time.
Yep.
And they came back and they talked and they were very sweet. And we have developed a little relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
to make a long story short, at the end, I got her mailing address and I'm mailing her a book because
Nice.
some similar
Yes.
interests. And that's the kind of world that I live in. And I like to share the story because you would not believe how excited she is. In fact, this morning I said I should have mailed it today, but I'll do it tomorrow.
Right.
But I was like, it's this little simple thing, fun things that you can do to someone just to make their day. And sometimes it's just as simple as a smile,
Yep.
holding the door open for someone, being kind,
Yes.
and making
Yep.
sure you take care of your vessel so that you've got extra to spare. Because if you're
Absolutely.
short, if you haven't eaten, if you didn't get enough sleep, if you didn't take a shower, if you're not feeling your best,
Mm-hmm.
that leaks out to other people.
Oh, it
So,
definitely is. I'm glad you said that because that's self care is so funny. People are like, what does that have to do with collecting cash? Well, it has to do with everything to do with collecting cash because if you don't take care of you, you can't serve others well. I mean, I'll just say it again. If you don't take care of you, you can't serve others well. People, we're energetic beings. We talked earlier about your affirmations and how you prepare yourself before you do whatever you do. People pick up on your energy. I mean, it's the. I mean, and even if you don't, I don't have bad energy. Well, people, yeah, well, everybody may not agree with you because they're like, something's off. Now, the people who care about you might say, okay, is everything okay? Um, you need some rest. You need some time off. You need some water. Are you hungry? I mean, it's the simple things, but
mhm.
people do feed off of energy, and I believe that one you have a job that requires high energy and a lot of um, conversations and understanding people on things. I have a job and a career that I'm always having to deal. I solve problems for a living. That's what I do. So my self care is important. That's why in the beginning of the show I said my favorite things are smooth jazz and great wines, both red and white, and time by the water and time by the Ferris wheels. Those are the things that refuel me, and so I make sure that I do those on a regular basis. It took me a while to figure that out, but then I'm like, okay, what brings you joy? I love smooth jazz. I love live music. I love theater. So I look for the things that bring me joy. So I go do that so that when I have to come back and deal with, a government contract or whatever, and it especially in this space right now where things are so complicated, it requires a lot. So I have to have a lot more energy, and I have to be ready to, deal with all the things, and as I say, get into the weeds.
If a listener could only do one thing this week to improve their collections,
Yep.
what should it be?
Buy my book.
And perfect. So how can someone get started with your Collect the Cash framework? And Eric, could you please put up Miss Dee's book? Look,
Yes.
everybody, here it is, Collect the Cash. The sale is
Yes.
not complete until the
Until the
dollars
money's
are in the bank. The money,
absolutely.
honey. Give me the money, honey.
Yes. So
So
the best way to improve your collections, number one, is that it's yes, buying my book is important, but more importantly, it's what you're going to get from the book. I talk about the mindset over money, and it's how you see money. I think because you actually, one of your questions earlier was, you asked me about, growing up with money and how you see it. So I believe that if you don't look at collections as I have to do this, as opposed to I get to do this and it's a part of my sales process, that's one thing. The second thing is that understanding that your your approach to collections, my approach to collections is this. There's two things. So we've been talking about business to business collections, because a lot of people hear collections and they think, the IRS, medical bills, a boot on their a boot on their car. That's not my lane of collections. But I just want to say this. I feel like the way you approach collections is this. It's your solutions based. The way I teach and talk about this, it's solutions based. That's where the what had happened was, what's the story? What's the story? So solutions based, mindset based. Cynthia, did talked about it, and I talk about it too. The importance of affirmations, telling yourself that you can do this, how you're here to solve the problem for your customer, and also that if you have a business, you're looking for repeat business. And so how you approach this is, okay, it's not that they owe me the money. I'm working to solve the problem. I want to use the four keys, and I want to eventually gain more business. And so it's going from I have to do this to I get to do this, and then I'm offering a solution, and we go from what happened was to how do we win, and when we win, we get paid.
I love that. I especially love I get to do this. If you're not getting up with I get to do this today, take a look, deep dive into not only your finances, but into your heart and soul and brain, and fix it. It's your life. You only have one of them.
Yes.
What's the most memorable thank you note you received from a client after helping them recover money?
I have two. I think I should say earlier how I was working with a vendor that sent me an email. He sent me an email for helping him understand a government form that was pretty complicated. So we resolved that. So I got the email.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah, but the other one was the small businesses that worked for the engineering consulting firm that I worked for years ago, and when I took over that construction project and they did not get paid for several months, and when they personally came up and gave me a card and a present and like, Dee, thank you, and they were like, we did, and the thing that was so profound was they're like, they kept saying, we kept calling asking how come we couldn't get paid, and nobody could answer our questions, and I was like, got it. So when they finally got their payments and we resolved all the things, they personally came up, and there was like three of them. They came up and all of them brought me a note, and they're like, "Thank you so much," and I was like, "Okay." And like I said, my heart was for small business. Like I said, I didn't. That was one of the things I didn't realize, that seed had been planted years ago. But I know now why I'm so passionate about doing this and teaching you giving you the knowledge, skills, and the ability so you can do this better and stay in business and be profitable and successful.
What advice do you have for businesses that feel like too small to put a formal collections process in place?
You're not too small. You're not too small. Because here's the thing: when you went to launch your business, you launched your business because you said, I can solve a problem, and I can make money from it. So even if you feel like you don't have a large collections process, you can take my story of how you bought your cell phone. That's your collections process, because the tracking system has the name of your customer, the contract number if you have a contract number, the dollar amount, the item that you sold to them, whether it's a product or a service, the invoice amount, how much do you have to bill them for, when you're supposed to get paid, in a section called notes. If you just do that, that's a very simple, easy way to do it, and it follows exactly how you bought your cell phone. There's your tracking system, that's your collection system, and then get the book, and you got it from there.
Easy as ABC.
Yep.
What are the warning signs that business might be headed towards cash flow trouble?
Good question. Number one, if they have a tracking system and they've noticed that the payments haven't come in on said date and they don't have a follow up, so they're not either doing emails or texts or phone calls. There's one. Number two, if their cash flow is short and they're like, okay, we should have gotten paid, and they're not following up and they're not talking to their customer to find out why. That's one. Number two, um, sometimes a lot of people's cash flow will go into the negative because they have a fear of asking their client for the money.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but because I'm like, I say it this way: as confident as you were to ask for the sale, you have to be just as confident to ask for the money. They go together. So if you have a fear about asking for the money, then that means you either have to get some systems in place or some people in place that love doing this and can help you do this. But you're responsible for making sure that the sale is complete and the money's in the bank all the way through. And if something is off, you're responsible for problem solving and finding out why. If the payment hasn't come in, if you are a solopreneur or if you have a company, a team, somebody has to take responsibility for finding out why. And then what are you going to do? What steps are you going to take to resolve the problem, do the customer service, express your gratitude for them helping you solve the issue, and making sure your invoice gets paid, and then continue to build a relationship. That's how you solve this. That's how you solve it.
Gosh, there's so many more questions. I'm trying to limit
Okay.
it. Let's see. Simple one. How often should businesses review their accounts receivables to prevent issues? Let's do an easy one.
If you have your tracking system in place, you should be doing it at least on a weekly basis at a minimum. And if you don't do it every week, it ought to be every 2 weeks. If you don't do it every 2 weeks, it ought to be once a month. You ought to just schedule, just like you schedule everything else, you ought to schedule a day to say, I'm going to review my accounts and figure out is there anything that's coming up that's going to be 30 days past due, and what's my plan of attack to address this issue. If it's going from 30 to 60, same thing, 60 to 90. Perfectly. If you do your reviews just like you take care of your car. All of us have cars. And if your car, there's a little sticker on the windshield. If you're old school, a little sticker that tells you, with certain mileage, you got to go take it in, and they've got a checklist of all the things that they're reviewing. Same thing with your money, because the thing is, if you don't keep up with your accounts receivable, you may potentially, one, you can't get paid. Two, if you have people whose livelihood is depending on you, you have a responsibility to make sure that you track your payments and that you are collecting that money, so that one, you can pay yourself, and two, you can take care of the people who have come alongside you to help you build your vision and build your business.
And where can your audience learn more and connect with you?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. This has been so much fun. I am so grateful that we got to do this. So again, thank you. That's one. Number two, so I've got a couple of things. Well, I actually have a podcast, so you can actually go on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple, and it's called Collect the Cash with Dee Bowden. And it's actually season 1 is out, and it goes through my origin story, my 4 keys, and I give you a case study of somebody I actually taught these 4 keys to and helped her recover her money within 24 hours. So that's one. Number two, you can go to collectthecash.biz/book. That's collectthecash.biz/book. If you get the book from me personally, I sign it to you and send it to you, and that would be my honor to do that.
Woohoo! I need one of those. And then your Instagram and your
Instagram is at D Collects Cash. You can follow me and tag me there and say, "Hey D, I saw you on the Cynthia and Manion show." Let me know that, so then we can. If you have more questions or you just want to follow up, we can talk there. And I think that was it. So we got the book, we got the podcast, and
LinkedIn.
And yes, you can connect with me here on LinkedIn.
Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, look deep in your heart. Make sure that you're doing all the right things that Dee laid out for you today, and you will have even a better, smooth life. Thank you so much for our wonderful guest today, Dee Bowden, with Collect the Cash, baby. Because if you don't have the cash, ain't nothing happening. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Cynthia Manion Show. Please share this out, catch the replay, put in some comments, and reach out to Miss Dee. And please order the book. Do I order from you, or do I order on Amazon or Barnes?
I've got your copy. We're good. I got you.
Woohoo! Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Put in your questions. See you next time. Be good. Make wise choices.